Hey guys, this is Joe with Above the Tree Line and wanted to talk to you today about using your refinements and filter options within the Edelweiss+Analytics tools. Um, Essentially, when you're looking at the analytics tools, there are a lot of options. Um, you can look at, all the titles, even all your stores if you have multiple locations, and kind of measure things as you like that way. Uh, Generally speaking, that's going to be a pretty decent place to start. But there's really ample reasons to go ahead and pare down what you're looking at according to point of sale category or publisher or um, BISAC subject, just kind of whatever you're working on. There are a few caveats. We'll kind of get into those. If you're doing this kind of on the fly, you just are going to scroll through and say, okay, just show me all the books from Chronicle. And you can just kind of go there and just real quick on the fly do that and see how those titles are doing. You can also do just a, BISAC category. Say, just show me all the kids' books. Boom, boom, just like so. It's a nice, quick way to get where you're going. And to, especially if you're a kids buyer, obviously that's the kind of stuff that you want to see. You can also use your point of sale category, and this is where the largest caveat lives. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that. But for example, you can look at your point of sale categories. This particular sample or test store here has kind of a lot of point of sale categories. There we go. Kind of this like Sony that it's making things act funny. Jeez. Of course, I'm click happy. Here we go. Sorry about that. So you can come in and say, show me. Just gonna scroll through here and find a good one. Oh, here we go. There was a fantasy sci-fi. So you could come in and click into your fantasy sci-fi area. What happens though within that is that if you're looking at categories like most popular and top not yet released, you're going to see that custom categories are not applicable for this analysis. So the most popular and the top not yet released titles are showing the market. So you're not able to show your store's categories within the market because how you classify something may be totally different from how somebody else classifies it. I just did some big wavy hand motions to illustrate, which you cannot see. So if you are looking for, the most popular titles, stuff that you may be missing or stuff that you're understocked on and that kind of stuff, or the top not yet released, showing the popular titles that are coming out soon. You do want to use BISAC categories because while you may classify things in a creative and maybe incomprehensible way, the industry does not. And so we're going to use industry measures to show those industry-wide measurements. So keep that in mind. Generally speaking, for those on-the-fly refinements, just using the marks, the selections on the side here can be great, nice and fine and easy. If you are doing more complex sorts of filtering, then you probably just want to create a quick saved filter. What's great about the save filter is they are saved, as the name suggests. And so you can just come back to those whenever you like. And you can also use them throughout the site. So for example, if you are a kids buyer and you only ever want to see kids stuff, you can just really quickly create a kids only filter, which is one that I have here, one that I created earlier. But if I can click into the edit here and see what actually it looks like, all juvenile, all young adults. So that's based on age. You could also do one based on BISAC category. So if I was to create a new one, go to subject, and these are all BISAC stuff. So you can scroll through and see all the major BISAC categories, and you can, like for fiction example, if you wanted to do just a mystery filter, you could come in here and just click into the mystery stuff. So you're able to find those subgenres as well, and subgenres. So you can say, if you only want to see hard-boiled detective titles, you can do that as well. But in this case, we were doing just kids. So I'm going to just go down to juvenile, say plus, plus. And if you want to throw YA in there as well, totally your call. If it was me, I'd probably do one for juvie and one for YA. But in this case, I'm just going to say juve, YA only. So the way that you make a filter remain and be saved is to name it first and then save it. And then when you do that, it's going to automatically apply that filter to all the tools in here. So you can see, among all the kids titles, the top 500 around the market, and then how your store is stocked and performing on those titles, which is great. Like obviously something worth knowing. In this case, we're looking at the red titles, which are titles that are not in stock, and but are doing well elsewhere. So definitely worth taking a look at. Top not yet released again are going to be titles that are coming out. So there's a publication date of in the future, and you can see how those are ordered. You're not going to have sales history on those, of course, but you're going to have number of titles or number of stores and number of orders that have ordered those, if that makes sense. I just kind of bungled that. Really useful. And this as well. So you can actually come in here and look at your stock analysis and see, among all of your kids' books, which are the ones that are doing great, which are doing okay, and which are bombing now. I say that gently. Basically, just those titles with very little activity, especially in accordance with how they're stocked. And then, of course, you can come in and look at the historical overview and see, how those particular titles are performing at your store, which is super useful. A good way to measure things. If you are doing, say, like a return, one thing that I used to do when I worked at a store was to create kind of sections within the store, so that the store already has categories and sections and point of sale categories and stuff. But I would divide the entire store into quadrants, and so then would do a return pull for everything, every category that was in a specific quadrant. And so to do that here, you just take your point of sale categories, like everything that belongs in that front left hand part of the store, put all those categories into one filter, and then you can just go ahead and print a return list here. Super easy. But yeah, so the one thing that's nice about the save filters is that they can be as simple or as complex as you like. Oftentimes people do make them overly complex, and I'll kind of explain that here real quick. So I'm going to add a new filter. So for example, if you're looking at subjects and you only want to see fiction titles, you can just come in here and just show fiction, just the plus next to fiction. Sometimes what people will do is they go with the overcomplicated thing and they click the minus signs here, which means, quote, not family and relationships, which is unnecessary, right? Because if you're only looking at fiction, you don't have to say, but not all this other stuff, because that's implied when you create the filter. So that's the most common mistake that I see. But what's cool here is, like, if you want to see, tell me how I do with fiction titles from somebody. I'm going to pick a random, from Hachette, that were published within a specific time frame, or they're all in hardcover. There's formats. You can do all that very, very easily, and it's again just a nice, easy way to measure something that you weren't able to measure previously. And again, just name your filter something that makes sense to you, and then boom, how do we do with Hachette hardcover fiction? Probably pretty well. Within the refinements as well, so up here, aside from the save filters, again, we're going to see publisher imprint, BISAC categories, which again, you can expand as needed. Your point of sale categories. Hopefully you don't have as many as this crazy store does. And then also tags or your collections. The tags part is kind of cool. It's just a nice way to, add, if you use tags quite a bit, you can come in and just look at titles with a specific tag, and then you can, measure it and all that kind of stuff. Keep in mind as well, so this is the analytics page. There is also, if you're looking at tags, for example, that's not a great one. There's only one title in there. Let's look at something else. Say buzz. So whatever list of titles that you're looking at in Edelweiss, whether it's a save filter or an order, like an order from a couple of seasons ago, or reviews that you've done, or review copies, whatever, you can come in and view that using an analytics lens just by clicking this view here. So this view selector will have your full view, which is what you use to do your orders, a 2-column view, which is used for quickly scrolling through a list of titles, and then a grid view, which shows very limited information, but people use to scroll through stuff pretty quickly, and then the analytics view. And within that analytics view, you click through, you can find a location thing, location selector there, and then you can choose to view this by shelf days or turns. You can choose the market data that you're comparing these titles to, all that fun stuff. So we're looking at sales data for the US indie market for 3 months back. Let's pop that back to 12. Then I want to show me all titles, and let's look at it by turns. And then you can set those thresholds for high turns versus low turns. Let's say 5 is high, 2 and under is low. And then your graph will change accordingly. Definitely worth taking a look at. Probably the most common use for this is to look at, if you're buying Random House tomorrow, look at your last couple of orders for Random House and see how they performed. And then that can kind of give you a feel for how you do with Random House titles, which is kind of a silly thing, but because you do well with those, I'm sure. But whatever you're looking at, it could be a new kids book publisher that you hadn't ordered from before, so you can see how you do with those, that sort of thing. So again, that all that kind of translates into being able to really just kind of slice and dice your view here to measure precisely what you want to measure, when you want to measure it, that kind of thing. All right. If you have any questions, there's the refinements and save filters are shown in here. If you go to help with Edelweiss+Analytics, you can pop in and show me saved filters. You get a whole breakdown of how all this works. All right. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys are doing well.